Tycoon, he left his wife thinking she was infertile. For years later, she surprises him with twins. "Mr. Chan, your 3 o'clock acquisition meeting is starting." His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Marcus adjusted his Patek Philippe watch, a habit he developed over years of timing every moment of his life to perfection. "Tell them I'll be there in 2 minutes." He picked up the latest financial report from his desk. Another record-breaking quarter for Chun real estate development. The numbers brought a slight smile to his face, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Another day, another deal, he muttered to himself, gathering his documents. Walking through the corridors of his empire, employees bowed their heads respectfully. The click of his Italian leather shoes against the marble floor echoed like a metronome, keeping time with the heartbeat of his business. "Marcus," called out James Wong, his longtime business partner, catching up to him. "The Thompson Group is getting cold feet about the downtown project." Without breaking stride, Marcus replied, "Then we'll make them an offer they can't refuse. Double the projected ROI figures and schedule a dinner at Imperial Palace. You know how they love that place." "But the budget," Marcus cut him off with a wave of his hand. "The budget is whatever I say it is. This deal needs to happen before the end of the quarter." Entering the conference room, Marcus took his place at the head of the table. The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on him. This was his element, where he truly felt alive. The thrill of the deal, the chase of success, the building of his empire. It was everything. Or at least that's what he kept telling himself. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice commanding attention. "Today we're not just discussing a building. We're discussing the future of Shanghai's skyline. And the future, as always, belongs to those bold enough to seize it." As he launched into his presentation, a notification flashed on his phone, a reminder of his wedding anniversary next week. He dismissed it without a second glance. There would be time for personal matters later. There was always later. Little did Marcus know, later was a luxury his marriage couldn't afford, and his relentless pursuit of empire would soon cost him something far more precious than any real estate deal. "I think this might be the one," she whispered to herself, stepping back to examine her work. The painting, an abstract representation of motherhood, featured 2 intertwined figures reaching toward a brilliant light. Her phone buzzed on the paint-splattered table nearby. Another missed call from Marcus. She glanced at their wedding photo on the wall. They looked so happy then, so full of dreams. Mrs. Chan, her gallery curator, Rebecca, poked her head into the studio. "The exhibition space is confirmed for next month." Sophia wiped her hands on a cloth, trying to hide the tremor in her voice. That's wonderful. Though I'm not sure about displaying this particular piece." Rebecca approached the canvas, her eyes widening. "But it's stunning. The emotion in it. It's raw, it's real. Maybe too real," Sophia murmured, her hand unconsciously drifting to her stomach. 3 years of trying, of hoping, of praying for a child. 3 years of seeing that disappointed look in Marcus's eyes every time the test came back negative. The sound of rain beginning to fall outside drew her to the window. She watched the droplets trace patterns on the glass, much like the tears she'd shed in countless bathroom floors, clutching another negative pregnancy test. "You know," Rebecca said gently, "art isn't just about creating beauty. It's about telling truth." Sophia turned, her eyes glistening. "And what's my truth, Rebecca?" "That I'm failing at the one thing I want most in the world. That my husband can barely look at me anymore." Her phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Marcus. "Working late. Don't wait up." Sophia picked up her brush again, adding darker shades to the painting's edges. "He's building his empire," she said, more to herself than Rebecca. "And I'm just here, empty." The rain grew heavier outside, matching the weight in her heart. But as she continued to paint, something shifted in the artwork. The darkness at the edges seemed to make the central light glow even brighter. "Maybe," she said, adding one final stroke, "sometimes we need to embrace the void before we can fill it." Little did she know, the void in her life was about to transform in ways she could never imagine, and the masterpiece she was creating wasn't just on canvas. It was in the very fabric of her destiny. The gallery lights dimmed automatically as evening set in, casting long shadows across her studio. Tomorrow would be another day of trying, of hoping, of living in the space between dreams and reality. But for now, Sophia let her art speak the words her heart couldn't bear to voice. "I can't do this anymore," Sophia whispered, her knuckles white. "I can't take another disappointment." Marcus checked his phone for the 5th time in 10 minutes, his other hand barely touching hers. "Whatever happens, we'll deal with it," he said, his voice distant, already half lost in some business matter. The door opened, and Dr. Zhang entered, her face professionally composed. Sophia's heart stopped. She'd learned to read these medical poker faces over the years. "Mr. and Mrs. Chun," Dr. Zhang began, settling behind her desk. She opened a thick file folder, filled with months of failed attempts and dashed hopes. "I've reviewed all your tests extensively." Sophia felt the world tilt sideways as the doctor's words washed over her. "Significant fertility issues? Extremely low probability. Might want to consider other options." "What exactly are you saying?" Marcus's sharp business tone cut through the medical jargon. Dr. Zhang folded her hands on the desk. "Mrs. Chen's test results indicate severe reproductive challenges. The likelihood of natural conception is less than 2%. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, filling the silence that followed. Sophia's vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. "And there's nothing that can be done?" Marcus's voice had the same edge he used in failed business negotiations. "There are experimental treatments, but given Mrs. Chen's condition..." Dr. Zhang's voice faded into background noise as Sophia watched her dreams crumble like a sandcastle in the tide. Marcus released her hand, standing abruptly. "Thank you, doctor. We'll need time to process this." In the car ride home, the silence between them stretched like an ocean. Sophia pressed her forehead against the cool window, watching the city lights blur through her tears. "We could look into adoption," she finally whispered, reaching for hope in the darkness. Marcus's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "My family line has continued unbroken for generations, Sophia. The Chun legacy," the unfinished sentence hung between them like a guillotine blade. That night, Sophia stood in their marble bathroom, staring at her reflection. The woman looking back at her seemed like a stranger, hollow-eyed and diminished. Through the door, she could hear Marcus on another business call, his voice strong and sure, while her world was collapsing. She opened the cabinet, pushing aside the pregnancy test she'd never need again, and found an old prescription bottle. The label read, "For Moments of Hope," her private joke from happier times. Now it felt like a mockery. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her reflection, to Marcus, to the children they'd never have. "I'm so sorry." But fate, as it often does, had other plans that would prove that sometimes the greatest miracles arrive after we've stopped believing in them. "Mr. Chun, Beijing is on line 1. His home office speakerphone crackled at 3 a.m. "And London needs confirmation on the merger details. Put Beijing through," Marcus commanded, not even glancing at the cold, empty side of the bed where Sophia should have been sleeping. In the kitchen, Sophia sat alone, cradling a cup of tea gone cold. The city lights twinkled below, a constellation of lives moving forward while hers stood still. The sound of Marcus's voice drifted through the walls, discussing millions as if they were pennies. "You missed dinner again," she whispered to herself, staring at the elaborate meal she'd prepared hours ago, now sitting untouched. 3rd time this week. Her phone lit up with a message from Rebecca. "Gallery opening tomorrow. Please come. You need to get out." The clock struck 4 when Marcus finally emerged. His tie loosened, but his mind still racing with business calculations. "There's food," Sophia offered, her voice small in the vast kitchen. "Had something at the office," he replied without looking up from his tablet. "The Shanghai project is at a crucial stage. I'll be flying out tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow?" Sophia's teacup clattered against its saucer. "But it's the Chen Group is about to become the largest real estate developer in Asia." He cut her off, finally looking up. The dark circles under his eyes matched the darkness growing between them. This is what I've worked my entire life for. And what about what we worked for? Sophia stood, her hands trembling. What about us? Marcus's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, then back at her. Sophia, I can't do this right now. The board meeting. When can you do this? She gestured to the space between them. When will there be time for us in your empire? You don't understand, he sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. This is all for our future. What future, Marcus? Her voice cracked. The one where you're too busy building towers to notice your home is crumbling? He turned away, his silhouette rigid against the pre-dawn sky. I have a conference call with Tokyo in 20 minutes. Sophia watched him retreat to his office, the door closing with a soft click that echoed like thunder in her heart. She picked up her cold tea, poured it down the sink, and watched it spiral away, just like her marriage. In the reflection of the kitchen window, she caught a glimpse of their wedding photo on the wall. Two smiling faces, full of promise and dreams. Now they were like two stars drifting further apart in an endless night, their light dimming with each passing day. The first rays of sunrise began to paint the sky, but in the Chun household, the darkness was only beginning to deepen. The papers are ready, Mr. Chun, his lawyer, Mr. Harrison, said quietly, placing a thick manila envelope on the mahogany desk. Marcus turned slowly, his face a mask of carefully controlled emotion. And everything is as we discussed? Yes. The settlement is more than generous. Harrison adjusted his glasses. But are you absolutely certain about this? 5 years of marriage. A Chun cannot build an empire on empty promises and broken dreams. Marcus cut in, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. My family needs an heir. The company needs an heir. At that moment, his intercom buzzed. Mrs. Chun is here to see you, sir. Marcus straightened his tie, a reflexive gesture that did nothing to ease the tightness in his chest. Send her in. Sophia entered, beautiful even in her sadness, wearing the blue dress he'd given her on their last anniversary. Her eyes fell on the envelope, and understanding dawned on her face. So this is it? Her voice was barely a whisper. This is how you end us? Sophia, Marcus began, but the practiced speech died in his throat. Don't, she held up a hand. Don't tell me again about the Chun legacy, about your empire, about how you need an heir. Tears gleamed in her eyes but didn't fall. I was more than just a vessel for your legacy, Marcus. I was your wife. He repeated, the word hanging heavy in the air. That's the point, isn't it? We're living in the past tense now. Sophia moved to the window, placing her hand against the glass. Remember when we used to watch the sunset from here? You'd tell me about your dreams, and I'd tell you about mine. When did your dreams become more important than ours? Marcus picked up the envelope, his fingers tracing the edges. I'm giving you everything you could need. The beach house in Bali, the gallery space in Paris, financial security. Everything except what I actually wanted. Sophia turned to face him, finally letting her tears fall. The silence stretched between them like an abyss. Outside, the rain intensified, drumming against the windows like the beating of their breaking hearts. Sign the papers, Sophia, Marcus said softly, extending the envelope. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. With trembling fingers, Sophia took the envelope. You know what's ironic? She smiled through her tears. I always thought I was the infertile one. But now I see you're the one who can't nurture anything except your ambition. She signed without reading, her signature a final stroke across their shared dreams. As she walked to the door, she paused, slipping off her wedding ring. I hope your empire keeps you warm at night, Marcus Chen. She placed the ring on his desk. Because you've just frozen everything else. The door closed behind her with a soft click, leaving Marcus alone in his tower of success, surrounded by everything he thought he wanted, and nothing he truly needed. The rain continued to fall, washing away the last traces of what once was, while somewhere in the universe, fate was preparing a surprise that would shake the very foundation of Marcus Chen's carefully constructed world. This is the last box, Miss Chan, said the mover, placing it carefully in her new studio space. Just Sophia now, she corrected softly, running her fingers over her art supplies. Thank you. As twilight painted the sky in watercolor hues, Sophia stood on her weathered deck, watching waves crash against the shore. The rhythm of the ocean seemed to match the beating of her broken heart. Starting over at 35, she mused to herself, wrapping her cardigan tighter against the evening breeze. Not exactly what I planned. Her phone buzzed a news alert about Chun Group's latest acquisition. Marcus's face stared back at her from the screen, looking powerful and distant in his designer suit. She quickly turned off the phone. Inside the cottage, she began unpacking her art supplies. Each brush, each tube of paint represented a piece of her identity she'd managed to keep intact. As she set up her easel by the large window overlooking the ocean, a wave of emotion hit her unexpectedly. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, her voice catching. "You can rebuild." A knock at the door startled her. Opening it, she found her new neighbor, an elderly woman with kind eyes and a basket of fresh bread. "Welcome to Newport, dear," the woman smiled warmly. "I'm Grace. I saw you moving in and thought you might need some company on your first night." Sophia felt tears welling up at this simple act of kindness. "I thank you. Would you like to come in for tea?" Over steaming cups of Earl Grey, Grace studied the half-unpacked art supplies. "An artist, are you?" "I used to be," Sophia replied, then corrected herself. "I am. I'm just finding my way back to it." "Ah," Grace nodded knowingly. "Sometimes we need to lose our way to find a better path." Sophia's hands trembled slightly as she held her cup. "I just never thought I'd be here, you know? Starting from scratch, alone. Alone doesn't mean lonely, dear." Grace reached across the table, patting Sophia's hand. "And sometimes, the most beautiful paintings come from the darkest places." As night fell, Sophia stood again on her deck. The stars seemed brighter here, away from the city lights. A shooting star streaked across the sky, and for the first time in months, she felt a flicker of hope. She pulled out her sketchbook and began to draw, not the precise, controlled pieces she'd done in Shanghai, but wild, free strokes that matched the untamed ocean before her. As she worked, something inside her began to unlock, like a door opening to a room she'd forgotten existed. "Time to paint my own story," she whispered to the night sky, unaware that fate was already mixing colors on its palette, preparing to create something far more magnificent than she could imagine. The waves continued their eternal dance with the shore, and somewhere in their rhythm, Sophia felt the first stirrings of a new beginning, one that would soon bring the most unexpected twist to her canvas of life. "Just feeling a bit run down lately," Sophia explained, fidgeting with her sleeve. "Probably just stress from the move and everything else." Dr. Mitchell reviewed the preliminary test results, her eyebrows lifting slightly. "How long have you been experiencing the fatigue and dizziness?" "A few weeks. I've been painting more, sleeping less." Sophia trailed off as she noticed the doctor's expression. "Is something wrong?" The doctor set down her tablet, leaning forward with an unreadable expression. "Sophia, I'd like to run one more test. Would you be comfortable with that?" 20 minutes later, Sophia sat perched on the examination table, her heart thundering in her chest as Dr. Mitchell returned with a new set of results. "I don't understand," Sophia's voice trembled. "This can't be right. I was told. They said it was impossible." Dr. Mitchell smiled gently. "Sometimes the impossible happens, Sophia. Your previous diagnosis was incorrect. You're pregnant." The room seemed to spin. "Pregnant? And based on these hormone levels," Dr. Mitchell paused, her smile widening. "We should do an ultrasound right now." The gel was cold on Sophia's stomach, but she barely noticed. Her eyes were fixed on the screen, hardly daring to breathe. The doctor moved the wand slowly, and suddenly the room filled with a rhythmic, whooshing sound. That's a heartbeat?" Sophia whispered. "Actually," Dr. Mitchell adjusted the wand slightly, "those are heartbeats. Plural. Congratulations, Sophia. You're carrying twins." The world stopped. Everything of the divorce, the move, The pain fell away as Sophia stared at the two tiny flickering lights on the screen. Her hands flew to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Twins, she choked out. But Marcus, they appear to be about 12 weeks along, Dr. Mitchell said softly. Which means, the night before he left, Sophia finished, remembering their last moment of connection before everything fell apart. Our last night together, walking out of the clinic. Sophia felt as if she was floating. The coastal wind caught her hair, and she pressed her hand to her still flat stomach, protecting a secret that would change everything. Her phone buzzed another news alert about Marcus Chen's latest business triumph. The headline read, Chun Group CEO announces expansion, building a legacy for the future. Sophia laughed, a sound caught between joy and irony. Oh, Marcus, she whispered to the wind. You have no idea what legacy you've really created. She walked along the beach, waves lapping at her feet, carrying not just one but 3 hearts beating within her. A miracle that defied all odds and medical predictions. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of hope, and for the first time since her world had shattered, Sophia felt completely, utterly whole. But as she watched the horizon, a new question arose. What would she do with this life-changing secret? What do I do now, little ones? She whispered, her free hand resting on her stomach. The first hints of a bump were beginning to show, a secret written in the subtle changes of her body. Grace appeared at the fence dividing their properties, carrying her usual evening tea. She stopped short when she saw Sophia's tears. Dear heart, what's wrong? She called out, already making her way up the deck stairs. Sophia looked up, a mixture of joy and fear painted across her face. I'm pregnant, Grace, with twins. Grace nearly dropped her teacup. Twins? But I thought. So did I. So did everyone. Sophia handed her the ultrasound photos. They're Marcus's. From before. Does he know? Grace asked gently, studying the images. Sophia shook her head, her dark hair catching the last rays of sunlight. How can I tell him? He left me because he thought I couldn't give him children. He's probably already planning his next marriage, his perfect heir. Her phone lit up with a news notification, Marcus at another charity gala, his arm around a stunning model. The caption read, Chun Group CEO moving forward, new love interest? He looks happy, Sophia said quietly, turning off her phone. He's got everything he wanted, except the truth, Grace pointed out, her wise eyes searching Sophia's face. Inside, one of the twins kicked their first definitive movement. Sophia gasped, pressing her hand to the spot. Another kick followed, as if in response. Oh! She breathed, fresh tears spilling. They're dancing. Grace watched as Sophia's face transformed with wonder. Life has a funny way of rewriting our stories, doesn't it? These babies, Sophia said, her voice growing stronger. They're not just a twist in the plot. They're a whole new book. Standing up, she walked to her easel, where a half-finished painting waited. With determined strokes, she began adding new colors, life-affirming greens, hopeful yellows, passionate reds. I won't let them grow up feeling unwanted, she declared, her brush moving with purpose. If Marcus doesn't want to be part of the story, that's his choice. But these children will know they're loved. They'll know they're miracles. The setting sun cast long shadows across her canvas, but Sophia kept painting, pouring her hopes and fears into every stroke. In the growing darkness, she was creating not just art, but a future, one that would soon force Marcus Chun to confront the true meaning of legacy. Your daddy may have his towers, she whispered to her unborn children, but we'll build something far more precious. A family built on love, not obligation. The twins kicked again, as if in agreement, and Sophia smiled through her tears. The night was falling, but for her, a new dawn was just beginning. These are different, Rebecca said, studying a particularly striking piece featuring 2 intertwined golden spirals emerging from darkness. There's something raw here, something powerful. Sophia adjusted her loose-fitting smock, carefully hiding her secret. Life changes us, doesn't it? Her phone buzzed, another message from Marcus's sister, Li Wei. Have you seen the news? He's engaged. To Victoria Sunday. The announcement's tomorrow. Sophia's hand instinctively went to her stomach as one of the twins kicked vigorously. Sure, little ones, she whispered in Mandarin. It's okay. Sophia? Rebecca's voice was gentle. You need to tell him. Tell him what? Sophia turned to face her friend, eyes flashing. That the wife he discarded like a failed investment is carrying the heirs he so desperately wanted? That while he's planning his perfect new life, I'm here growing his miracles. She moved to the window, watching waves crash against the shore. No, he made his choice, Rebecca. He chose his empire over our love. These babies. They're not bargaining chips for his dynasty, but they're his children, Rebecca pressed. Sophia picked up a brush, adding fierce strokes of crimson to her latest piece. They're my children, my miracles, my redemption. As if in agreement, both twins moved together, creating a ripple across her belly. Sophia smiled despite her tears. You know what's ironic? She continued painting, each stroke more determined than the last. He's out there searching for the perfect heir, while the universe has given him two. But he'll never know the joy of feeling them dance inside. Me. Never know how they respond to music, how they kick when I paint. Rebecca watched her friend work, concern etched on her face. And when they ask about their father? Sophia's brush paused mid-stroke. The question she'd been avoiding hung heavy in the air. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the ocean, matching her turbulent thoughts. They'll know they were born from love, she finally answered, her voice stronger than she felt. That sometimes love isn't enough to keep people together, but it's enough to create miracles. She stepped back from her painting, a powerful image of a phoenix rising from ashes, its wings sheltering two smaller birds. Marcus Chun can have his towers and his perfect new wife, Sophia declared, wiping paint from her hands. I'm building something far more valuable, a life where my children will never question their worth, based on their ability to fulfill someone else's legacy. Thunder rolled in the distance as the storm approached, but in her gallery, Sophia stood firm, surrounded by her art and cradling her growing secrets. The twins moved again, a gentle reminder that sometimes the greatest acts of love require the hardest choices. We'll be okay, she whispered to her unborn children as rain began to fall. We'll be more than okay. We'll be extraordinary. The Rebirth series needs to tell a story, she explained to her assistant, Emma, while positioning a particularly striking piece. From darkness to light, from loss to... She paused, feeling the twins performing their usual morning acrobatics. These days, they seemed to dance to the rhythm of her voice. Miss Sophia, Emma called out, holding up a magazine. You might want to see this. The glossy pages showed Marcus and his new fiancée at a charity gala. The headline read, Chun Group's Power Couple. Wedding of the Year approaches. Sophia's hand instinctively moved to her belly. Well, little ones, looks like Daddy's building his new perfect life. Sophia. Grace burst through the gallery doors, waving a local newspaper. You're on the cover of the art section. Rising Phoenix. Newport's mysterious new artist transforms pain into power. The article featured one of her recent paintings, a woman emerging from ocean waves, her body containing two bright stars. Sophia smiled at the irony that no one had decoded her artistic metaphors. They call your work deeply personal and charged with hidden meaning. Grace read aloud. If they only knew. That's the beauty of art, Sophia replied, adjusting another canvas. Everyone sees their own truth in it. Later that evening, as she sat in her studio facing the ocean, Sophia worked on her latest piece, a massive triptych depicting transformation. Her phone buzzed with a message from Li Wei. The wedding is in 2 months. Marcus seems different, empty somehow. Are you sure about your decision? Sophia set down her brush, watching the sunset paint the waves in shades of gold and pink. The twins were particularly active, as if sensing her emotional turmoil. Your aunt still cares, she whispered to her belly. But your father, he's chosen his path. She stood, walking to the window, her reflection showing how much she'd changed. Gone was the uncertain woman who'd arrived in Newport. In her place stood someone stronger, someone who'd learned to carry both pain and joy with grace. Ms. Sophia? Emma appeared at the door. The art critic from Modern Canvas magazine is here for your interview. Sophia took a deep breath, adjusting her dress. Time to share our story with the world, little ones. Well, part of it anyway. As she walked toward the gallery's main room, she passed the phoenix painting, her symbol of resurrection. The twins kicked in unison, as if applauding. Yes, she smiled, touching the canvas gently. We rose from those ashes, didn't we? And we're still rising. The setting sun cast long shadows through the gallery windows, but Sophia moved forward with confidence, ready to present her art to the world, art that told the story of her journey, even if the most miraculous part remained her beautiful secret. Should I continue with the next chapter? As Sophia's new life continues to unfold? Copier continue atuando desenvolva a historia sem marcacos com o nome de cada topico que for desenvolve. Agora mi contio topico 11 com dialogo, sempre lembrando de desenvolver com muita moco, com muitos sentimentos de forma que estrutura de narrativa utiliza uma linha temporal linear de modo o espectador sentir o que o personagem está sentindo. Sem recamacar a historia, nem introduzer, simplesmente continue atuando de onde Peru na última parte. Sempre desenvolve de maneira a deixar a historia mais envolvente e com suspense aquila sensacao. Sobre o que vai acontecer. No Ingalls Inner AI, the Newport Memorial Hospital bustled with activity, but in Sophia's private room, time seemed to stand still. Sweat beaded on her forehead as another contraction gripped her body. You're doing great, Sophia, Dr. Mitchell encouraged. The first twin is almost here. Grace held Sophia's hand tightly. Breathe, dear, just like we practiced. Sophia closed her eyes, focusing on the rhythm of her breath. The past 9 months flashed through her mind, the loneliness, the fear, the triumph of her gallery opening. Now, the moment of truth had arrived. One more push, Dr. Mitchell urged. With a primal cry, Sophia bore down. Suddenly, the room filled with a new sound, the indignant wail of a newborn. It's a boy, Dr. Mitchell announced, holding up the squirming infant. Tears streamed down Sophia's face as she caught her first glimpse of her son. Liam, she whispered, the name she'd chosen months ago finally finding its owner. But there was no time to dwell. The second twin was ready to make their entrance. Okay, Sophia, let's welcome this little one, Dr. Mitchell said, positioning herself once more. The pain intensified, but Sophia found a new reservoir of strength. With Grace murmuring encouragement, she pushed again and again. Finally, a second cry joined the first. And here's your daughter, Dr. Mitchell beamed, presenting the wriggling bundle. Mia, Sophia breathed, her heart overflowing with love. As the nurses cleaned and swaddled the babies, Sophia lay back, exhausted but exhilarated. Grace wiped her brow gently. They're perfect, Grace said softly. Absolutely perfect. Soon, Sophia held both babies in her arms, marveling at their tiny features. Liam had Marcus's strong chin, while Mia had Sophia's delicate nose. They were the perfect blend of their parents, a living testament to a love that once was. Hello, my little miracles, Sophia cooed, her voice thick with emotion. Welcome to the world. As if recognizing her voice, both babies opened their eyes, staring up at their mother with a gaze that seemed far too knowing for newborns. You're going to change everything, she whispered to them. You already have. Grace watched the scene with misty eyes. They're going to have an amazing life with you, Sophia. Sophia nodded, unable to take her eyes off her children. They'll know they're loved every single day, that they're wanted, that they're enough just as they are. As the twins drifted off to sleep in her arms, Sophia felt a bittersweet pang. These precious moments, their first breaths, first cries, first glimpses of the world, were hers alone to treasure. Marcus would never know the joy of this day, the overwhelming love that came with holding his children for the first time. Your daddy would be so proud, she murmured to the sleeping infants. even if he doesn't know it yet. Outside the window, the sun was rising over Newport, painting the sky in hues of hope. It was a new day, the first day of their life as a family. Sophia looked down at Liam and Mia, their tiny chests rising and falling in perfect synchronicity. In that moment, she made a silent promise to always protect them, to nurture their spirits, and to give them a life filled with love and possibility. What she didn't know was that fate had more surprises in store, and that her carefully guarded secret wouldn't stay hidden for long. Mr. Chan, his assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. The board is waiting for you in the conference room. Marcus adjusted his tie, a habitual gesture that did little to calm the restlessness he'd been feeling lately. I'll be there in a moment. As he gathered his papers, his eyes fell on a small, framed photo hidden behind stacks of financial reports. It was Sophia, laughing on their honeymoon in Bali. He'd meant to remove it months ago, but something always stopped him. In the conference room, the board members rose as he entered. James, his longtime business partner, began the presentation. The Chen Tower in London is ahead of schedule, James announced, pointing to projected images of a sleek skyscraper. We're set to break ground on the Dubai project next month. Marcus nodded, trying to focus on the numbers and charts before him. But his mind kept drifting, like a compass seeking true north. And what about the Newport development? He asked suddenly, surprising even himself. James blinked, caught off guard. Newport? I didn't realize we had interests there. We don't, Marcus said quickly. I was just curious about emerging markets. As the meeting droned on, Marcus found himself staring out the window, his thoughts thousands of miles away on a small coastal town. Later that evening, as he loosened his tie in his empty penthouse, his phone buzzed with a message from Li Wei. Saw this and thought of you. Maybe it's time to heal old wounds. Attached was a link to an art review. The headline read, Sophia Chen's Rebirth series takes art world by storm. Marcus's heart raced as he opened the article, drinking in every word. There was Sophia, standing proudly before a massive triptych. She looked different, radiant. Her art was described as a journey from darkness to light, loss to renewal. Without thinking, he dialed Li Wei's number. Marcus. His sister answered, surprise evident in her voice. I didn't expect you to call. The article, he said, his voice tight. Sophia? Is she? Li Wei sighed. Happy? Thriving? Yes, Marcus. She's found her way. A lump formed in Marcus's throat. I made a mistake, didn't I? The question is, Li Wei replied gently, what are you going to do about it? Marcus turned to look at the Shanghai skyline, his empire of glass and steel stretching as far as the eye could see. For the first time, it all felt hollow. I don't know, he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. As he ended the call, his eyes fell on his desk calendar. His wedding to Victoria was just weeks away. Everything was arranged, every detail perfect. It was the culmination of his life's work, a merger of dynasties, a securing of his legacy. Yet as the night deepened over Shanghai, Marcus Chen, the man who had everything, realized he might have lost the only thing that truly mattered. Little did he know, in a small coastal town across the ocean, two tiny hearts beat in time with his own, a secret that would soon shatter his carefully constructed world. I didn't expect to hear from you after all these years, Mei Lin said, studying Marcus's face. Especially not with your wedding just around the corner. Marcus fidgeted with his water glass, unable to meet her eyes. I needed someone who knew me before all of this. He gestured vaguely at their surroundings. Mei Lin leaned forward, her voice softening. What's really going on, Marcus? This isn't about your upcoming nuptials, is it? He finally looked up, his eyes haunted. I saw an article about Sophia. Her art. She looks happy. Mei Lin finished for him. Fulfilled. Marcus nodded, a lump forming in his throat. I've made a terrible mistake, haven't I? Mei Lin sighed, reaching across the table to touch his hand. Marcus, I've known you since we were kids. You've always been driven, always had your eye on the next big thing. But I've never seen you look so lost. A waiter approached, but Marcus waved him away. I thought I was building a legacy, an empire, but now you're wondering if you've sacrificed the wrong things for it, Mei Lin finished. Marcus's phone buzzed, another message from Victoria about wedding details. He ignored it. I saw Sophia's paintings, he said quietly. There was one. It showed two golden spirals emerging from darkness. It felt like she was trying to tell me something. Mei Lin's eyes widened slightly. Marcus, when was the last time you spoke to Sophia? The day we signed the divorce papers, he admitted, shame coloring his voice. I couldn't face her after that. Mei Lin took a deep breath. I think you need to go to Newport. Marcus looked up sharply. What? I can't just... You can, and you should, Mei Lin insisted. Before you make another decision that you'll regret for the rest of your life. As if on cue, Marcus's phone lit up with a news alert. Sophia Chen's Rebirth series to tour internationally. Artist declines personal appearances. Something clicked in Marcus's mind. The timing, the symbolism in her paintings, her sudden reclusiveness. Oh God, he whispered, the realization hitting him like a tidal wave. Mei Lin, do you think? Is it possible? Mei Lin squeezed his hand. There's only one way to find out. Marcus stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. I need to go. I need to go. Mei Lin nodded, understanding in her eyes. Go find your truth, Marcus. As he rushed out of the restaurant, Marcus's mind raced. The empire he'd built, the marriage he'd planned, none of it mattered now. For the first time in years, he felt truly alive, driven by a force more powerful than ambition. In his car, he made 2 quick calls, one to his assistant to clear his schedule indefinitely, and one to book the next flight to the United States. As the Shanghai skyline faded behind him, Marcus felt a mix of terror and hope. He was racing towards a truth that could change everything, unaware that across the ocean, 2 tiny lives were about to turn his world upside down. Taking a deep breath, he pushed open the door. The soft chime of bells announced his arrival. Welcome to... Sophia's voice cut off abruptly as she turned and saw him. Her face paled, eyes widening in shock. Marcus! He stood frozen, taking in the sight of her. She looked different, radiant, stronger somehow. But there was something else, a change he couldn't quite place. Sophia, he managed, his voice barely above a whisper. I saw your art. In the magazine. She instinctively took a step back, one hand moving protectively to her stomach, a gesture that didn't escape Marcus's notice. What are you doing here? She asked, her voice a mix of confusion and guarded emotion. Before he could answer, a cry pierced the air. Sophia's head whipped around towards the back room, her face a mask of panic. Marcus felt the world tilt on its axis. Is that? Sophia's eyes met his, a storm of emotions swirling in their depths. Marcus, The cry came again, more insistent this time. Without a word, Sophia rushed to the back room. Marcus, his legs moving of their own accord, followed. What he saw next shattered his world into a million pieces. There, in a playpen tucked away in the corner of Sophia's studio, were 2 babies, a boy and a girl, no more than a few months old. They were perfect, with Sophia's dark hair and, they have my eyes, Marcus breathed, his knees weakening. Sophia lifted the crying girl, cradling her close. This is Mia, she said softly, then nodded to the boy. And that's Liam. Marcus staggered forward, his eyes never leaving the babies. When? Remember our last night together? Sophia's voice was barely audible. Before you left? The weight of realization crashed over Marcus. His mind reeled with calculations of the timing, the symbolism in Sophia's paintings, her sudden disappearance from the art scene. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, his voice cracking. Sophia's eyes flashed with a mix of pain and defiance. You made your choice, Marcus. You chose your empire over our love, over the family we could have had. As if sensing the tension, both babies began to fuss. Without thinking, Marcus reached out and lifted Liam from the playpen. The moment the boy settled in his arms, something profound shifted inside him. There, "They're mine," he whispered, awe and regret battling in his voice. Sophia watched him, tears glistening in her eyes. "They're ours. The miracles we thought we'd never have." The gravity of his mistakes crashed over Marcus. The empire he'd built, the loveless marriage he'd planned, it all seemed meaningless in the face of this revelation. "Sophia, he began, but words failed him. Outside, the sun was setting over Newport, casting long shadows through the studio windows. In that moment, bathed in the golden light of dusk, Marcus Chen, the man who thought he had everything, realized he had nearly lost the only things that truly mattered. As Mia reached out a tiny hand towards him, Marcus felt the first tears he'd shed in years roll down his cheeks. His carefully constructed world was crumbling, but from its ruins, something far more precious was emerging. The question now was, could he find a way to be worthy of this unexpected gift? "I've missed so much," Marcus finally said, his voice hoarse. Their first breaths, first smiles. Sophia turned to face him, her eyes a storm of conflicting emotions. "You missed more than that, Marcus. You missed the fear, the loneliness, the nights I cried myself to sleep wondering if I could do this alone." Marcus looked up, his face etched with remorse. "Sophia, if I had known, you would have what?" She cut him off. "Stayed out of obligation? Tried to buy my silence to protect your precious empire." Her words stung, but Marcus knew he deserved them. "I would have been here," he said softly. "For you, for them, for us." Sophia's laugh was bitter. "Us? There hasn't been an us since the day you decided your legacy was more important than our love." A cry from the nursery broke the tension. Sophia moved to go, but Marcus stood. "Please," he said, "let me." After a moment's hesitation, Sophia nodded. Marcus entered the nursery, his heart racing. Liam was awake, tiny fists waving in the air. As Marcus lifted him, the baby's cries subsided, replaced by curious coos. "Hello, little one," Marcus whispered, overwhelmed by the surge of love he felt. "I'm your father. I'm so sorry I'm late." He turned to find Sophia watching from the doorway, her expression unreadable. "They're perfect," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "You've done an amazing job, Sophia. They're thriving because of you." Sophia's composure cracked slightly. "It hasn't been easy," she admitted. "There were days I wanted to call you to tell you, but then I'd remember how easily you left, how our family wasn't enough for you." Marcus gently placed Liam back in his crib, then faced Sophia. "I was a fool," he said, taking a step towards her. "I thought I knew what I wanted, what success looked like. But I was wrong. So terribly wrong." Sophia's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "And now? What do you want now, Marcus?" He closed the distance between them, his hand reaching out but stopping short of touching her. "A chance," he said softly. "A chance to be the father they deserve, the husband I should have been. A chance to rebuild what I so carelessly destroyed." Sophia's breath caught. "And what about your fiancé, your company, the life you've built without us?" Marcus's response was immediate. "None of it matters. Not without you. Not without them." A tear slipped down Sophia's cheek. "How can I trust you again? How can I be sure you won't leave when things get tough, when the novelty wears off?" Marcus gently wiped away her tear, his touch sending electricity through them both. "Because I've lived in a world without you, Sophia. And it's empty. These few hours with you and our children have been more fulfilling than all my years building my empire." Sophia's walls began to crumble, years of pent-up emotion flooding out. "I'm scared, Marcus," she whispered. "Scared to hope. Scared to let you in again." Marcus pulled her into his arms, and for the first time in years, Sophia allowed herself to be held by him. "I'm terrified too," he admitted. "But I'm more afraid of losing you again, of missing another moment with our children." As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms with their sleeping miracles just feet away, the future seemed both uncertain and full of possibility. "Stay," Sophia whispered against his chest. "Stay tonight. We have so much to figure out." Marcus tightened his embrace, feeling for the first time in years that he was exactly where he was meant to be. I'm not going anywhere, he promised. Not ever again. Outside, the Newport lighthouse beam swept across the night sky, a beacon of hope guiding lost souls home. For Marcus and Sophia, it was the first light of a new dawn, illuminating a path forward they never thought possible. Sophia appeared in the doorway, her hair tousled from a restless night. "You're still here," she said softly, a mix of relief and uncertainty in her voice. Marcus looked up, his eyes filled with wonder. "I couldn't bear to miss another moment." As Sophia approached, Mia stirred, reaching out a tiny hand towards her mother. The simple gesture brought tears to Marcus's eyes. "She knows you," he whispered. "They both do. I'm just a stranger." Sophia's hand rested gently on his shoulder. "You don't have to be. Not anymore." The moment was interrupted by Marcus's phone buzzing insistently. He glanced at it, his face paling. "It's Victoria." Sophia stiffened, reality crashing back in. "Your fiancé." Marcus stood carefully, passing Mia to Sophia. "Ex-fiancé," he said firmly, stepping out to take the call. Sophia cradled Mia close, whispering to her daughter, "What are we doing? Little one, can we trust him again?" In the living room, Marcus's voice was low but clear. "I'm sorry, Victoria, but I can't marry you. It wouldn't be fair to either of us. I know this is sudden, but I've realized where I truly belong." When he returned, his face was resolute. "It's done. I've ended it." Sophia's eyes widened. Just like that, he confirmed. "But that's only the beginning. I need to restructure the company, delegate more, create a life here." "Marcus," Sophia interrupted, "slow down. We can't just pick up where we left off. Too much has happened." He nodded, taking a deep breath. "You're right. I know I have so much to make up for, so much trust to rebuild. I'm not asking you to forget the past. I'm asking for a chance to create a new future. Together." Sophia placed Mia in her crib, then turned to face Marcus fully. "And what does that future look like to you?" Marcus's eyes shone with determination. "One where I'm here, every day, for you and our children. Where I learn to change diapers and sing lullabies. Where I support your art and your dreams as fiercely as you've supported our family. Where we build something far more precious than any skyscraper. A home filled with love." Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. "It sounds beautiful, Marcus. But how can we be sure it's not just another dream that will fade when reality sets in?" Marcus took her hands in his touch gentle but sure. "Because I've lived the alternative, Sophia. I've had the penthouse, the accolades, the billion-dollar deals. And none of it compares to the feeling of holding our children, of seeing your smile. I choose this. I choose us. Every day, for the rest of our lives, if you'll have me." Sophia's breath caught, years of pain and longing warring with the hope blooming in her heart. "It won't be easy," she warned. "We have so much to work through." "I know," Marcus agreed. "But nothing worth having ever is. We'll take it one day at a time. Together." As if on cue, both Liam and Mia began to stir, their soft cries filling the room. Sophia and Marcus moved in unison, each picking up a baby. Together, Sophia echoed, a small smile playing on her lips as she watched Marcus tenderly soothe Liam. Outside, Newport was coming to life, the sun casting a golden glow over the coastline. Inside, bathed in the warm light of a new day, a family was taking its first tentative steps towards healing and reunion. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with difficult conversations and moments of doubt. But as Marcus and Sophia stood side by side, their children in their arms, they felt the first stirrings of something powerful, a love tempered by time and trial, stronger and more resilient than ever before. "Your mommy is amazing, isn't she?" Marcus whispered to the twins, his chest swelling with pride as he observed Sophia's confident instruction. As the class wrapped up, Sophia made her way back to the house. Her cheeks were flushed from the wind and exertion, her hair tousled in a way that made Marcus's heart skip a beat. "How did it go?" he asked, handing her a warm mug of tea. Sophia's smile was genuine, if a little guarded. "It was good. The students are really connecting with the idea of painting emotions rather than just scenes." Marcus nodded, then hesitated before speaking. Sophia, there's something I need to talk to you about. Her body tensed slightly. What is it? He took a deep breath. I've made a decision about the company. I'm stepping down as CEO. Sophia's eyes widened in shock. What? Marcus, your company is your life's work. You can't just... It was my life's work, he corrected gently. Now this is... He gestured to the twins and then to her. I'm appointing James as the new CEO. I'll remain on the board, but my focus will be here with our family. Sophia set down her mug, her hands trembling slightly. Are you sure about this? Such a huge change. Marcus reached out, tentatively taking her hand. To his relief, she didn't pull away. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I've already missed so much. I don't want to miss another moment. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. I want to believe you, Marcus. I do. But part of me is still waiting for the other shoe to drop. He squeezed her hand gently. I know. And I know I have a long way to go to earn back your trust. But I'm committed to this, Sophia. To us. To our family. As if on cue, Mia let out a little cry. Sophia moved to attend to her, but Marcus was already there, lifting the baby girl with practiced ease. Hey there, princess, he cooed, cradling Mia against his chest. Daddy's got you. Sophia watched, her heart constricting with a mix of love and lingering fear. You're getting good at that, she said softly. Marcus smiled, a hint of his old confidence shining through. I'm a quick study, and I have excellent teachers. He nodded towards her and Liam. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the ocean, Sophia felt something shift inside her. The walls she'd built to protect her heart were starting to crumble. Marcus, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm scared. He turned to her, his eyes filled with understanding and remorse. I know, Sophia, and you have every right to be, but I promise you, I will spend every day of the rest of our lives proving to you that this is where I belong, that you and our children are my everything. Sophia took a shaky breath, then stepped closer, allowing herself to be enveloped in Marcus's embrace. Mia nestled between them and Liam gurgling happily in his stroller. Okay, she whispered against his chest. Okay. As they stood there, a family reunited under the fading light of day, the future seemed both terrifying and full of promise. The road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in years, Sophia and Marcus felt like they were facing it together. The ocean waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, a constant reminder of the ebb and flow of life. And as night fell over Newport, the Chun family took their first real steps towards healing, forgiveness, and a love deeper than they had ever known before. Little did they know the greatest challenges and the most profound joys of their journey were yet to come. Marcus adjusted his tie for the 5th time, catching Sophia's eye in the mirror. Are you sure you're ready for this? He asked, concern etched on his face. Sophia took a deep breath, smoothing down her elegant blue gown. I'm not sure of anything anymore, she admitted, but I know I can't hide forever. As if sensing the tension, Liam began to fuss in his crib. Marcus moved to comfort him, his touch now confident and soothing. Sure, little man, he whispered. Grandma Grace will be here soon to look after you and your sister. Sophia watched the interaction, her heart swelling with a mixture of love and lingering apprehension. You've come so far with them, she said softly. Marcus turned, Liam now calm in his arms. They make it easy, he replied, his eyes shining with adoration. They're the best parts of us, Sophia. A knock at the door signaled Grace's arrival. As they handed over the twins, Sophia felt a wave of anxiety wash over her. What if people judge us? She whispered to Marcus as they headed to the car. What if they think I'm weak for giving you another chance? Marcus took her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. Then they don't understand the strength it takes to forgive, to rebuild. You are the strongest person I know, Sophia-chan. The drive to the gala was quiet, both lost in their thoughts. As they pulled up to the venue, camera flashes immediately began to pop. Ready? Marcus asked, giving her hand a gentle squeeze. Sophia nodded, taking a deep breath. Together, she said, echoing their new mantra. As they stepped onto the red carpet, the whispers and stares were palpable. Sophia felt Marcus tense beside her, his protective instinct kicking in. "Mr. Chun, Ms. Chun," reporters called out. "Is it true you've reconciled?" "Sophia, how do you feel about Marcus's return?" "Mr. Chun, have you really left your company behind?" Marcus cleared his throat, preparing to shield Sophia from the onslaught, but she surprised him by stepping forward. "Yes, Marcus and I are working on our relationship," she said, her voice clear and strong. "Our focus is on our family and our future together." A hush fell over the crowd, then a flurry of more questions. But Sophia and Marcus moved forward, entering the gala with heads held high. Inside, they were immediately approached by Rebecca, Sophia's gallery owner. "Sophia, darling, the collection is magnificent." "And Marcus," she paused, eyeing him critically, "welcome back." As they moved through the crowd, Sophia could feel the weight of curious stares and hushed conversations. But as they reached her exhibition space, everything else faded away. There, on the walls, hung Sophia's heart laid bare. Paintings of twins emerging from darkness into light, of broken pieces coming together to form something new and beautiful, of hands reaching across voids to connect. Marcus stood transfixed before a particularly striking piece. Two intertwined trees, their roots deep and tangled, weathering a storm together. "This is us," he breathed, his voice thick with emotion. Sophia nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "It's called resilience," she explained. "It's about growing stronger through adversity, about choosing to weather the storm together rather than apart." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with a love so intense it took her breath away. "Sophia, But before he could finish, a commotion near the entrance caught their attention. The crowd parted to reveal a face neither of them expected to see. Victoria's son, Marcus's ex-fiancée, stood at the gallery entrance, her eyes locked on the reunited couple. The room fell silent, the tension palpable as three lives that had once been intertwined collided once again. Sophia felt Marcus's hand tighten around hers, a silent promise of unity in the face of this unexpected storm. As Victoria began to make her way towards them, Sophia and Marcus exchanged a look of determination. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The night that was meant to celebrate new beginnings now held the potential for old wounds to be reopened. The question hanging in the air was, would their newfound resilience be enough to weather this unexpected tempest? Marcus, Victoria's voice was cool, collected. "I see the rumors are true." Marcus stepped forward slightly, instinctively shielding Sophia. "Victoria, I didn't expect to see you here." Victoria's gaze shifted to Sophia, her eyes narrowing. "And you must be the reason my engagement ended so abruptly. Sophia, isn't it?" Sophia straightened her spine, meeting Victoria's gaze. "Yes, I'm Sophia. It's unexpected to meet you like this." The tension in the air was palpable. Guests whispered behind their hands, eyes darting between the three figures at the center of this emotional storm. Victoria's laugh was brittle. "Unexpected? I'd say that's an understatement. One minute I'm planning a wedding. The next I'm reading about the great Marcus Chen's secret family in Newport." Marcus flinched at her words. "Victoria, I'm sorry for how things ended. You deserved better than that." "You're right. I did," Victoria snapped, her composure cracking. She turned to Sophia. "And you? How could you keep his children from him? How could you be so selfish?" Sophia felt a surge of anger, but before she could respond, Marcus spoke up. "That's enough, Victoria." His voice was firm. "Sophia did what she thought was best. The blame for our situation lies with me, not her." Victoria's eyes flashed with hurt and betrayal. "You gave up everything we planned, everything we worked for. For this? A small-town artist and some surprised children?" Sophia felt Marcus tense beside her, but she squeezed his hand, stepping forward. "I understand you're hurt, Victoria, but what Marcus and I have, it's not something that can be explained or justified. It's just us." Victoria's gaze flickered between them, noting their intertwined hands, the protective stance they'd taken. Something in her expression shifted, a mix of realization and resignation. "You really love her, don't you?" she asked Marcus softly. Marcus nodded, his voice gentle but sure. "I do. More than I ever thought possible." Victoria took a deep breath, smoothing down her dress. "Well then, I suppose congratulations are in order." Her voice was strained, but there was a hint of acceptance. She turned to go, but paused, looking back at Sophia. "Take care of him. He's a good man, beneath all that ambition." As Victoria disappeared into the crowd, Sophia and Marcus stood in stunned silence. The gallery slowly returned to its usual buzz, the moment of drama passing. Sophia turned to Marcus, her eyes searching his face. "Are you okay?" He nodded slowly, pulling her close. "I am. That was unexpected. But I'm where I need to be, Sophia. With you." As they embraced, surrounded by Sophia's art, testaments to their journey of love, loss, and redemption, they felt a shift. The last shadows of their past were fading, making way for the brightness of their future. Rebecca approached, a gentle smile on her face. "Well, if there was any doubt about the emotion behind your work, Sophia, I think that little scene just erased it. Now, shall we continue the tour? There are some very interested buyers waiting." Sophia and Marcus exchanged a look, a silent conversation passing between them. With a nod, they followed Rebecca, ready to face whatever came next together. As they moved through the gallery, showcasing Sophia's art and their shared story, they realized that the night's drama had only strengthened their bond. They had weathered the storm, emerging stronger and more united than ever. But as the evening wore on, neither of them could shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Their journey was far from over, and the universe seemed to have more surprises in store for the Chun family. "You're up early?" Sophia whispered, her hand instinctively moving to stroke Liam's dark hair. Marcus looked up, his eyes tired but filled with warmth. "Couldn't sleep. Too much on my mind." Sophia nodded, understanding all too well. "Last night was intense. That's one word for it," Marcus agreed, carefully placing Mia back in her crib. He turned to Sophia, his expression serious. "We need to talk about what happens next." A knot formed in Sophia's stomach. "What do you mean?" Marcus took her hand, leading her out to the deck where the first rays of sunlight were spilling over the ocean. "The gala last night, Victoria's appearance. It's just the beginning, Sophia. Our story is out there now, and people will have questions, opinions." Sophia leaned against the railing, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "I know. Part of me wishes we could just stay in our little bubble here. Just us and the twins." Marcus moved closer, his arm wrapping around her waist. We could disappear, start fresh somewhere new." Sophia turned to him, surprise evident on her face. "What about the company? Your responsibilities?" "I told you before, Sophia. You and the children are my priority now. Everything else is secondary." The weight of his words hung between them, full of promise and possibility. Sophia felt her heart race, torn between hope and lingering doubt. "It's tempting," she admitted, "but running away won't solve everything. Our past will always be part of us, Marcus." He nodded, his fingers intertwining with hers. "You're right. So what do you want to do?" Sophia took a deep breath, the salty air filling her lungs. I want us to face it all. Together. No more secrets, no more hiding. Let's show the world who we really are, flaws, mistakes, and all." Marcus's eyes shone with pride and love. "You never cease to amaze me, Sophia Chen. Your strength, your resilience. It's breathtaking." As the sun climbed higher, bathing them in golden light, Sophia felt a surge of courage. "There's something else we need to discuss, Marcus." He tensed slightly, sensing the gravity in her tone. "What is it?" Sophia turned to face him fully, her heart pounding. I think it's time we renew our vows. Not for the world, not for show, but for us. To recommit to each other, to our family." With open eyes and full hearts, Marcus's breath caught, emotion overwhelming him. "Sophia, are you sure? After everything?" She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. I'm sure. We're not the same people we were when we first married. We've grown, we've hurt, we've healed. I want to stand before you and promise myself to this new us, this stronger us. Marcus pulled her close, his voice thick with emotion. Yes, 1,000 times, yes. As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms with the promise of a new beginning hanging in the air, the sound of the twins stirring inside brought them back to the present. Sophia smiled, wiping away a tear. Duty calls. Marcus laughed softly, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Our beautiful, chaotic life. They moved inside, ready to face another day as a family. But as they tended to Liam and Mia, neither could shake the feeling that their decision to renew their vows was more than just a romantic gesture. It was a declaration to the universe, a commitment to their shared future, come what may. Little did they know the universe was listening, and it had one more twist in store for the Chin family. One that would test their newfound strength and unity in ways they could never have imagined. A soft knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Come in, she called, expecting to see Grace or one of the bridesmaids. Instead, it was Marcus who entered, his eyes widening at the sight of her. Sophia, he breathed, you look incredible. Sophia felt a blush creep up her cheeks. You're not supposed to see me before the ceremony, she chided gently. Marcus stepped closer, his expression serious. I know, but something's happened. We need to talk. Sophia's heart dropped, fear gripping her. What is it? Are the twins okay? The twins are fine, Marcus assured her quickly. It's about the company. There's been a hostile takeover attempt. Sophia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. What? How? Marcus ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in his gesture. It seems my decision to step back created an opportunity for some of our competitors. They've been quietly buying up shares, and now they're making their move. Sophia's mind raced. But what does this mean? For us? For our family? Marcus took her hands in his touch grounding her. It means I might have to go back to Shanghai, at least temporarily, to fight this, to protect what we've built. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Sophia felt tears prick at her eyes. But the ceremony, our fresh start. Marcus pulled her close, his voice thick with emotion. I know, my love. I'm so sorry. But I promise you, this doesn't change anything between us. Our vows, our commitment, that's eternal. Sophia pulled back slightly, searching his eyes. She saw the conflict there, the pain of having to make this choice. Suddenly, a calm settled over her. This was a test of their love, their partnership, their newfound strength. Then we'll face it together, she said firmly. Marcus blinked in surprise. What do you mean? Sophia's smile was determined. I mean, we're going to Shanghai. As a family, we'll fight this takeover attempt together. And then we'll come back here and renew our vows on our own terms. But Sophia, your art, the twins... She silenced him with a gentle finger to his lips. My art can travel. The twins, well, they're Chens. It's time they saw where half their heritage comes from. Marcus stared at her in awe. You never cease to amaze me, Sophia Chen. Are you sure about this? Sophia nodded, her resolve strengthening with each passing moment. I'm sure. We promised to face everything together. Remember? This is just our first test. As they stood there, still in their wedding attire but now planning a journey across the world, they heard the murmur of guests arriving outside. We should tell everyone, Sophia said softly. Marcus nodded, then hesitated. What about our vows? Should we still? Sophia smiled, reaching up to cup his face. How about this? Let's say them now, just us two. And when we return from Shanghai, victorious and stronger than ever, we'll celebrate with everyone. Tears glistened in Marcus's eyes as he nodded. Taking a deep breath, he began, Sophia Chun. I vow to love you through every storm, every challenge, every unexpected turn in our journey. As they exchanged their private vows, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the room in a soft, golden light. Outside, their friends and family waited, unaware of the dramatic shift in plans. But in that moment, it was just Sophia and Marcus, recommitting to their love and preparing to face their greatest challenge yet. Little did they know, their adventure in Shanghai would bring more than just a corporate battle. It would unearth secrets long buried and test their newfound unity in ways they could never have anticipated. "Welcome to Shanghai," Marcus said softly, his eyes scanning the crowd. "It feels different being back here." Sophia could sense the tension in his voice. Different how? Before Marcus could answer, a sleek black car pulled up, and a familiar face stepped out. Marcus, Sophia, Li Wei, Marcus's sister, rushed towards them, her face a mix of joy and concern. "I can't believe you're really here. And these must be my niece and nephew." As Li Wei fussed over the twins, Sophia caught Marcus's eye. There was something he wasn't telling her, a heaviness in his gaze that hadn't been there in Newport. The drive to the Chun family's penthouse was filled with Li Wei's chatter about the company crisis and family gossip. But Sophia's attention was fixed on Marcus, who sat silently, his gaze fixed on the rapidly changing skyline. As they entered the opulent penthouse, Sophia gasped. The view of Shanghai's futuristic skyline was breathtaking, but it was the large family portrait hanging in the entryway that caught her eye. It showed a younger Marcus with his parents and Li Wei, all looking stern and powerful. "Your parents," Sophia said softly. "I forgot how much Liam looks like your father." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Let's hope that's where the resemblance ends." Before Sophia could question him further, an elderly woman appeared, her face lighting up at the sight of the twins. "Ah, the young masters have arrived," she exclaimed in Mandarin, reaching for Liam. Marcus smiled, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. "Sophia, this is Ai-chin. She's been with our family for generations." "Ai, this is my wife, Sophia." Ai bowed respectfully to Sophia before turning her attention back to the babies. "Such strong chin features. Your father will be pleased, Marcus." Sophia felt Marcus stiffen beside her. "My father isn't here, is he?" he asked, his voice tight. Li Wei shook her head. "No, he's still in Hong Kong. But he'll be back tomorrow for the emergency board meeting." As they settled into the guest suite, Sophia finally cornered Marcus. "All right, what aren't you telling me? Every time your father is mentioned, you look like you've seen a ghost." Marcus sighed, sinking onto the bed. "It's complicated, Sophia. My relationship with my father has always been strained. But after I left the company to be with you and the twins, let's just say he wasn't pleased." Sophia sat beside him, taking his hand. "Marcus, we're in this together. Whatever it is, we can face it." He looked at her, his eyes filled with a mix of love and worry. "My father is a difficult man, ruthless in business and unyielding in his expectations. He sees my choice to step back as a betrayal of everything he built." "And the takeover attempt?" Sophia pressed gently. Marcus's laugh was bitter. "Knowing my father, he's probably behind it. A test, to see if I'll come running back to save the family legacy." Sophia felt a chill run down her spine. "So what do we do?" Marcus pulled her close, his voice resolute. "We stand our ground. We show him that our family, our love, is stronger than any corporate game he wants to play." As they held each other, the Shanghai night skyline twinkling beyond their window, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into a lion's den. The corporate battle was just the surface. The real test would be facing Marcus's father and the ghosts of his past. In the nursery next door, the twins slept peacefully, unaware of the storm brewing around them. Sophia and Marcus exchanged a look of determination. Whatever came next, they would face it together, for themselves and for their children. Little did they know, the arrival of Marcus's father the next day would set in motion a series of events that would shake the very foundation of their newfound happiness and test their love in ways they never